Hello, everyone. Thanks for attending this SkyCiv webinar on the brand new SkyCiv-Excel plugin. This short webinar is going to consist of a short introduction from me, and then Steve, who you also see on the screen, is actually getting into the demo portion of it, and then we'll have an optional Q&A to follow that. So as you're joining, and as you see on screen, we had a poll pop up. So if you haven't answered that, please give that an answer. I expect we'll see a pretty obvious trend due to the topic of the webinar itself. And I guess we can just discuss the results here. 23% using Excel for structural engineering every day, 46% 2 to 3 days a week, 15% once a week, and then 50% say rarely. So, and I guess those are changing a little bit. So even more so. So 85% of people on this webinar are using it at least once a week, if not more. So just wanted to show how prevalent Excel is in our lives and as a structural engineer. So we're going to hide these results and we'll get started here. So just with that, we'll move forward here. A little bit about us for people that aren't familiar with SkyCiv before or haven't used our software before. We basically are a proprietary developer and distributor of our own cloud-based engineering software. So we spend a lot of time working with users, figuring out what works best and what doesn't work best. Our main focus is on making our software as easy as possible for anybody to pick it up and use it right away and become efficient with it, but also being really as powerful as ever. So that's our main priority. And our other main priority is being open to flexible and cost-effective subscription options. So we found that with other alternatives, other softwares that are out there, you either have to buy it perpetually or you have to commit to at least a year. And we thought there was a little bit of a gap in the market. So we try to offer monthly or 6-month long contracts to give engineers as flexible options as possible. And then we believe it's also very, very cost effective. So in terms of presenters today, my name is Trevor, and I'm going to be moderating this webinar. I'm an onboarding engineer here at SkyCiv, so I do handle the majority of the support and technical support here in the US, as well as a lot of other regions in the world. And I also help with account management and sales. And I'm sure that I think there's a few of you on the webinar that I've spoken to previously or before. Just a little note for during the demo, if you have any questions that come up, or you have anything that kind of strikes you as a comment or something you want to discuss, go ahead and put it in the Q&A box. And then if it's something that's really relevant to what Steve is talking about or what's being talked about in the demo, we'll stop briefly and discuss it. Otherwise, I'll kind of sift through those and we'll pick as many as we can to talk about in the Q&A afterwards. So as for the person who's going to be actually demoing the software, I'm going to let Steve introduce himself. So go ahead, Steve.
Hey guys, so yeah, I'm Steve. I'm in Sydney, Australia at SkyCiv headquarters. I've just sort of joined probably last year as a API developer, and one of the first projects I was working on was this Excel plugin. So I've got a history in structural engineering, and then before that, construction. So yeah, we've been working pretty hard on this, and we're pretty keen to sort of get some feedback. It's still in early stages, so if you do get onto it and find any issues or bugs happening, then send them through to us and we'll get onto it straight away. But yeah, otherwise we'll get into it soon, and I'll give it back to Trev.
All right, awesome. So we got ourselves introduced. We'll just go over a couple more slides here and then we'll jump right into it. So really wanted to just express that our main goal with the plugin is to take probably the most common and most versatile tool in the structural engineering tool belt, something that every engineer, even every person, is familiar with in Excel, and try to kind of supercharge it with our platform, our solver. So in terms of what it actually does, obviously Steve's going to get into that a little more, but here's just a list of things that we can, that you can accomplish with that. And I'm not going to read through everything. Obviously, we're going to record this, so you can read through it later or read through it now. Basically, what we try to do is we try to incorporate as many possibilities, as much functionality from the front end version of our software. So, like the 3D analysis and design part of our software that you can log in and use in the browser, and incorporate as much of that functionality into Excel itself. So being able to just build your entire model out of Excel. We spoke to a lot of engineers that really liked building a model out of an Excel spreadsheet or a table. So this is kind of, part of the motivation was from that. But overall, it's really, we're just touching the tip of the iceberg in terms of what's possible and what kind of customization we can accomplish using the plugin. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Steve, just to have so that we're a little, good to go with the introduction. See if I can get this to work here. I'll go to Steve, make him the presenter, and I'll let him go.
No worries. Thanks, Trev. I'll just share my screen here. All right. So yeah, so we've just sort of released this recently, and we're pretty excited about it because it really takes Excel to another level using our API, and it's a good demo also of what our API can do. So to start with, I'm actually just going to look at, if you've got a blank workbook, how you can get it into here. So you can see up here, I've got a SkyCiv tab in my ribbon. So if we go to insert, then you can go into get add-ins and you can find it through here. So on a PC, I think it'll open up inside Excel. If you're on a Mac, it'll go to the store. Let me just turn off the dark mode there. You can go to SkyCiv for Excel here and just run through that, and it'll just sort of open up Excel straight away and drop it in. You'll just need to give it permission on the right side. And then once you've got that, you'll have this ribbon available to you. So there's a few different tools in here. Probably the first thing to get started is the setup page. And what that does, I'll just click that there, it'll open up, create a SkyCiv sheet down here, and you'll be able to see all the different components that go into a model. So we've got nodes, members, and so on. You can collapse and expand the definitions here, and you can see sort of everything that goes into sort of, for a member, say each row would be one member, and that goes all the way through to the end. It's all pretty similar. You can go over to here, and in fact we might just open up a sample so you can see that populate. So there's all sorts of silly ones here as well as a few real ones. So you could just open up one of these ones, and it'll sort of bring the data in for you to experiment with, and you can sort of work forward from there if you like. So other than samples, we've got the renderer. This is a really powerful one to have inside Excel, because as you're building this model out, you'll see that you can actually see what you're building as you're building it. So it'll live update. So that's the model that we just clicked in the samples, which is just reading straight off the sheet here. So if I deleted a few members there, you'll see it sort of update. There you go. So you can see a few of the members have just sort of dropped out. So, it looks like we've just lost the lights in here. So other than that, you can sort of just build up your own one. You'll see it going. In fact, I might just show you what that looks like if we went from a clean sheet. So we've got a node. We might just need to refresh that. Go put in node 1, node 2. We'll just put that at the origin, and then we could just put this at x of 1, 0, 0, and then you can see the two nodes have appeared here now, and then you can go and put a member in from node 1 to node 2, and then you'll just need to give it a section ID as well. Even though we haven't defined any sections, the renderer needs that to understand that there's something going on. So by default, the renderer will just show a square section. In future, we're looking, well, at the moment, we're actually trying to develop a way that we can provide detailed data of the section, so you can actually see the shape from within here like you can on S3D. A few other things in here. You've got a section library, so you'll see that when you need to put in sections, that you've got to get these names pretty correct, and you can do that just by going through here, selecting whichever section and then inserting it, which we'll do later on. You've got your analysis and design tabs in here, and then sort of open and save. So open and save will let you grab models from the platform itself and import them into Excel. You can edit them, and then you can save them back to the platform. So it's pretty handy if you sort of got a model already and you want to sort of run some calcs on it that you could do typically in Excel. Especially if you're really good with Excel, you might find it easier to sort of manipulate things in that sense. So the sort of other main tab would be settings, and this is where you can just authenticate with your API details and also just set up the model settings. So you could change the axis from Y to Z, and you can set the units for each of the different parts of the model. If you're into coding and you're using the API, you can also grab the model as a JSON object, so that'll just copy it to your clipboard straight off the sheet to what you've built out. If you don't know what that means, then don't fret, you don't really need to for now. So with that, we'll look at one that I've already sort of built just for it's a very simple example that sort of shows you how handy it can be to use Excel to create other things. So what I've done here is I've used formulas to create a curved facade. So it's a very sort of basic facade grillage. You might see a video that I think we just put on LinkedIn yesterday, just running through this sheet as well. So what I've done here is just defined a curve. We've just gone with the equation of circle. It's quite a simple one that everyone would understand. So we've just rearranged for Y here. In my case, for this model, I'm using Y as the vertical axis. I know that's a hot topic, and I'm on the side of the Z for vertical axis. So if you're worried about that, that's same. So if we go to here, you can adjust the curve and you can put in your x-axis values, and then from that we've just sort of gone and worked out what the Z would be. So if I turn the trackpad on here and looked at, if we had a circle, we could look at probably something like this here, and we're sort of just going along the x-axis and finding out what that y coordinate is as we go along. So once we've done that, I've just copied the values over a few times to go for different levels. So I've gone up in 2.7 meter increments, which is about 8 foot, I think. So that's sort of level, the ground level, then one more level up, and then another one again. So taking that data, we can just sort of feed that straight into the SkyCiv sheet. So you can see the reference here goes straight to that other one, and then we've got members, which have sort of just taken these IDs here and just sort of pasted them in. I'll open up the renderer, and you can see that facade there, the grillage. So I've taken these IDs and just sort of aligned them to sort of work my way along the bottom here, and then from there to there, and so on, and then vertical ones as well. There's a few other parameters that you can put in here to rotate members, offset them. We'll just collapse that one. We'll just flick through these other ones. So for the sections, I've gone with an Australian RHS, which is the rectangular hollow section. You can go into the library here and you'll see that it provides you with all those different details. So you need to actually get these values exactly as they should be according to the library. So that's why we've added this in here. So you could just go into, say I wanted to change it to square hollow section. We could go down to here and put in 65 by 3, and you'll see that here now. And then you can choose whatever section. So as you add more sections, you'll see that they become available in here, and you can insert them. So if we did that, you'll see that inserts the SHS here. Another important note here is that the handles on tables, that bottom right handle defines what's in the table, and we use these to work out what data to pull out. So just make sure that you've always got the handles in the right place. So at this point, there would be 2 sections in the model. If I move that to here, there's now only 1 section, so I can just get rid of that anyway. Just be wary of that to make sure that they're always in the right position to collect all the data. Materials, you can define them yourself. There's a class key here which sort of helps the design module. If you're going to do design, then putting in steel will say this member is a steel member, so we need to run a steel design on it or something like that. Supports, we've done a similar thing, just worked our way down the edges there and put in each support. You've got fixities, which if anyone's not familiar with them, that's XYZ translation and then XYZ rotation. This data too, you can find on the docs page, which we've added a link here. So if we looked at this one, say, you can see that we've got sort of zeros in here. If we left some of these out and tried to run the model, then it wouldn't work. It would throw an error, which you'll see another sheet pop up here saying, showing a list of the errors. And it's pretty detailed. It would say distributed load number 9 is missing an axis. So you can come in here and put that back in. You'll need to fill out the fields with 0 that you're not using. But yeah, in this case, we've just put distributed loads on the horizontal members in the negative Z direction. So we've given it a load group. If you're not sure what goes into here, again, just click this and it will open up a window to our API docs. Say you wanted to look at distributed loads, you can come down to here, click that, and that'll scroll down to the distributed loads section. And in here, you can see all the parameters that line up with the columns. So this is actually for the API, but that's what we're using with this Excel plugin. So the same information in here goes for the sheet. So you can see that axis can be either global or local, and case does matter here. So that's why I've put in global. Other than that, these ones are all pretty straightforward. We've created a load combination with WU, which is the load group we've assigned here, and the self weight, which is from here. So once you've done that, you'd want to authenticate. So if you go to here, you can go find your key if you're not sure what your API details are, and that'll take you straight to the window in here. So you can just grab them out, copy them in, and then you can set the model again, any details. And once you've run, didn't put any details in there, so we're on the wrong sheet, that's why. Here you go. So if we run authenticate on that, that'll take a moment. So that's just constructing an API call to start a session, and this will each session usually lasts for about 30 minutes. So we've put a thing here which will tell you that the session's expiring, but we've also recently set up the API so that as long as your details are here, then it'll re-authenticate for you. If you send a call after that time expires, it might just take a bit longer, but it'll re-authenticate and give you back a new session ID, which will be stored in there to speed up subsequent calls in that session. So once we've authenticated, you've now sort of got access to a few of these other things like opening models, analyzing design. So if you go to here, this will show you any of your file manager from platform, and then you could load up any model from here. So we might just run some analysis. Or to start with, a good way to confirm that your model's working, if you're not too sure, you can run this open in S3D button here. This doesn't actually open a task pane, so you'll just see a little note down here saying that it's working. It just takes a moment. So you'll see it opens up a window and it loads it up in S3D. So you can see that that's looking pretty good. Sort of the loads look about right, the supports are right. We could run a solve on it, and if everything's good, it'll run just fine. Yep. And then you can sort of, as you would normally, you can go into here and look at anything else, any of the other information. So we'll get rid of that. Same thing as we just did there, you could run it in here. We've added some filter fields here. The data that comes back it can be really heavy if the model gets big and you've got a lot of load cases, load groups, load cases, combinations. So what you want to do is, if you don't need all that data, set a few of these filters on it, and it could save you, quite a lot of data and time as well, because it takes time for all that data to come back if you're on a slow internet like us here in Australia. So you can hit solve there. Again, this is in the background. This is constructing an API call. If anyone's familiar with that, that's refetching the session and then grabbing the model, putting into a model solve function, and then sending it off. Data comes back, and you'll see that it opens up or creates a bunch of new sheets down here. So we've got that load combination, the wind ultimate load group that we put on, and the self weight. So that's all the data's in there. It's quite a lot. So we've also put in a little results lookup here, where you can pick one of the sheets and go through whatever member. And then you can also filter by particular elements. So if we just clicked axial here, you'll see it'll only show the axial data. And then similarly, we can go over and do a design. And you can pick from your codes here. So if I go down here, I'm using an Australian steel design. I can run a design there. So it's important too that if your model is built with library sections that are from the US catalog, you'll need to obviously run a US design. If you try to use sort of metric sections from a metric country to with Imperial, you'll find that it won't work, and it'll just give you sort of it'll give you some feedback saying, you need to make sure everything's in Imperial or metric. So you can see all the design results have come back here again, same as analysis. So you got some information on every member in the model. Same deal, we can go through and pick out one of those and just look at the information for that particular, so member 4. You can copy the links for downloading the report, and that'll copy it to your clipboard, and then we can just go back over to the browser, paste that link in, and you'll see that it creates a report for you. So these reports don't actually exist until you paste that link in, and then it'll generate it and download it. So once that's downloaded, you can open that up and you'll see that you have a full report on the member or the entire summary of the model, depending on which link you followed through with there. So that's probably most of it. I think we'll probably be ready to head back over to Trevor in a moment. We've got the About tab there. That'll give you a bit more information on setting up the model, or just the plugin in general. If you're still sort of not too familiar with it or not quite grasping it. Again, if you find bugs, then send them through. We're really responsive on intercom. So once you've logged into SkyCiv.com and a little chat bubble down the bottom right, just send us some screenshots or try to tell us what you did so we can recreate it, and we'll get it fixed up. A lot of people think that we're not sort of there listening, but everything you send through does often get passed around the company for discussion, and sort of action usually happens within days. So yeah, send us through some information, what you think of it, what you'd like to see in there, and we'll look at developing it further. So we might hand back over to Trevor there.
All right, let's see. Thanks, Steve. That was really informative, really great. Hope you guys liked that demo. We'll just touch on a couple things here to finish up, and then we'll look at some of the questions. So hopefully you can see the presentation again. So basically just wanted to just touch on how to get started. We offer a free 14-day professional trial, and you'll get free API credits to run Excel, run some of the Excel things that Steve was showing. But basically how to do that is just go to this link here, skyciv.com/Excel. There should be a button on there to actually download the plugin as well as sign up for the 14-day trial. It just takes 2-3 minutes. The other thing I wanted to point out too is with that 14-day trial, you're also getting access to the front end of the platform as well. So you're receiving, the normal, you're receiving full professional access for that 14 days of the front end part. So you can log in the browser, use any of the modules just as normally as you would with any other structural engineering software. And once you sign up, you'll actually be directed to the dashboard, and you'll be able to see all those things that we're talking about. Just one last note about the API credits. We'll include a link down here, or a link in the description or anything like that. But basically, the credits that are used in the API are actually only used when there's analysis run or design run. So any of the other like modeling or rendering or stuff like that, any of those actions are not actually going to cost any type of API credits. Just wanted to make that known. So if you have any questions, obviously get in touch with us. I'll show the next slide, both Steve and I's information. Please feel free to reach out to either of us with any questions you have. And then if you're one to kind of read up on things, we do have a pretty extensive documentation. So either visit this link, skyciv.com/docs/SkyCiv API, or just go to skyciv.com/docs and just use the search bar and search for Excel. It'll route you right to this. And with that, I'll post up our contact information here. And then, yeah, any questions, we'll get to them. So I'll leave this up for a little bit. And then what I'll do is I'll actually give it back to Steve so he can point out some things with the questions. So again, here's the information for Steve and I to contact us with any questions, or if you want more information about anything. It's just first name, last name at SkyCiv.com. So I'm going to actually give the presenter back to Steve, and we'll run through a question or two. Let's see, make presenter. Okay, so a couple questions. The first one I'll ask you, Steve, is how do the cells in Excel have units of meters, or really units of anything, if Excel doesn't really support units, as like a description of the cell or anything like that?
Yeah, I understand that's probably coming from that curve sheet where I had meters showing in the cells. What you can do there is that's actually just a formatting. So if you go to the home tab and then go to general or the format of the cell, usually you can pick general, number, currency, accounting. You can go down to more number formats and then use that to sort of format that cell as some sort of string after. So what I've done is just said that that cell is equal to whatever number plus M on the end. So you don't actually have to put the M in a separate cell after.
Okay. Do you want to show your screen just to
sure.
Just give a quick context to that?
Okay, so if we went back to the curve sheet here, where so I'm guessing that this is sort of what Jake was talking about there. So if I put in 5, you can see that it's always got M after it. So by doing that, you go to custom here. And then you can see how I've put in 0 down in custom. You can go 0.00 and then in quotes M after. So that's how it knows to put the M after.
Yeah, so it's more just like a custom label on the type of cell. It's not so much a unit per se. It's just a custom label to help you understand what you're looking at. So that principle can be applied to really anything. So another question: what design codes does it support? I can help answer this one. If you go to the website, or if you wanted to pull up the website, just SkyCiv.com, there's a lot of design codes for, there you go, perfect. So we have steel, concrete, and wood design, and it varies depending on the country. So the most design codes we have are for the United States, and then more so after that, it's Canada, Australia, Euro code, some of the British standards. Those are the main ones. But then we also have some upcoming design codes from Indian standards as well. So it's constantly changing. We're constantly adding them. So those are just some of the design codes that we offer that he's scrolling through now. But a full list you can see from our website. It really depends on the country that you're looking for, that the governing code base you're looking for. Next question. I understand that this plugin creates an API call to the server. Is the number of API calls limited, as is the case with the SkyCiv API? And I'll let you answer that one, because I kind of mentioned it before, but you are using an API call when you're using the Excel plugins. So it is like the SkyCiv API. It's just that there are certain actions that do use a credit and some actions that don't use a credit. And Steve, maybe you can just elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, so it's pretty much just anything that's solves or design. You can see that on the API docs page here, which is that little link that I clicked inside the sheet before. So anything to do with design and analysis, really. That first half, you could see when I was just working in here, I hadn't even authenticated, and I was sort of creating a model and rendering it. You can then save it to your platform and all that without using any API credits. So if you're not really looking to use the API, you could still create models and save them to platform with this plugin.
Right. I think that's a big thing is, once people get involved with the platform side of it, when they actually start using the software, they actually really, really like it. So this could just be another tool in the tool belt to, expand that, the generation of the model. Like I said, we a lot of people that we talk to really like generating their models out of a spreadsheet and out of a table. I think most of us are probably more visual, but it's just opening up that book so that, you guys can generate models and get to that endpoint of the analysis, as quickly as you can and as easily as you can. Because when you have the API credits via a professional account, you're also getting the professional access. So you could do all of the generation using the plugin, and then you could actually load that model into Structural 3D as Steve showed, and then you can just kind of run it as a normal model in there. So like I said, there's a lot of untapped potential on what you can actually use the plugin for. But like Steve was saying, the analysis runs and the design runs are the ones where those are actually where credits are being used.
Yeah, you can see that. You can see that on your profile too. You can see when I had that open, all the different calls. So you can see the type of call here that's being made, and then what that costs. But it's kind of a really great tool for people that have already got these incredible spreadsheets. I saw plenty of them when I was doing consulting. These guys that had spent years on creating a master spreadsheet, and then this is sort of just letting you take it to the next level and incorporate FEA from Excel, to sort of power up that spreadsheet a bit more.
Okay, and the last question we have here, again, feel free to, if you're still on with us, please feel free to drop in as many questions as we can. We'll stay as long as we are able to. The last question we have here on the docket is, can you add custom beam sections in the Excel plugin? Yeah,
so you can do that. Might take a bit of remembering from me, but I do remember adding that in. So it was by setting this library key to something else. Let me check in the docs if I put that in here. It's something like you can put in custom _ section, and then just in one of say catalog, you just put the name of that section. I definitely need to document that, I think, a bit more clearly, because it's probably something that you wouldn't quite pick up on.
Would that, so those would be in the My Sections area of the section builder, like those type of custom sections, or?
Yeah, so if you went into section builder and you've saved your own custom sections, you could sort of, that's what the name would be. So you'd go load custom here, and then you'd put in the name of whatever it is, My Section, something like that, and that would load up your section.
Okay, yeah, so for people that are, again, unfamiliar with the platform, Section Builder is basically the integrated version of, or it's an integrated tool with Structural 3D that allows you to, create custom sections, importing a DXF, importing, some type of special section that you have that's proprietary, or creating one with a bunch of different database shapes, or really any type of section you can think of, you can create it in that Section Builder. And then not only does that Section Builder, do an FEA analysis to get the section results, you can use those sections within Structural 3D for analysis. So those sections are what the question is about. There's if you create a custom section, you can save it, and it goes into the My Sections tab or area, and then you can use that custom section, for future use. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for, especially if you're, again, using proprietary sections, or you're using a lot of the same custom sections, more than one time. You can save those and use them for later, and those would also be specifiable in the Excel plugin. Yeah,
so it'd be something like this, and you can just use this name here, and you just need to put the key load custom. I'll make that a bit more clear. Probably I'll add that to here if I haven't already, this about page. I'll put some docs together for that, so you can work out how to do that a bit easier.
Okay, a couple more questions coming in here, which is great. Keep firing them on if you have them. Are you looking to add connection design functions to Excel as well?
That might be probably down the track a bit. At this stage, it's still very, very fresh. We've only just sort of released it about a month ago, more. But yeah, if there's demand for it, we'll get onto it typically.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of like I was mentioning before, we're a pretty user-driven company. So where the users want to go is kind of where we go. So if there's a very concentrated liking towards something or effort, from users or from people that are asking us for something, and we notice a trend in that, obviously we're going to divert a lot of our developmental resources to creating that tool, but also, the best version of that tool that we can, that users can be effective with. So that's a good question. Just keep your eye out for things. One more little tidbit is, when you're signed on with us with a professional account, or really with anything, more so the professional account, because the connection design would be a part of that. But because there's no upgrade fees or maintenance fees or downloads or anything like that, anytime there's a new feature that gets rolled out or gets released, there's nothing that's required from the user's end. It just appears on your dashboard, ready to use day one that it's released. So the most recent example is the biggest module we released recently would be like the brand new foundation design module. So in other cases, you'd be paying extra for that outside of what you pay for the 3D analysis portion of it. But as a professional user, if you logged in on whatever the day that was released, you just saw a brand new foundation design module that you could use, so long as you're on with us. So that would kind of be the same thing with the connection design, really with any kind of new features, new big releases that come out. Is they just, they come to you as part of the platform. There's no maintenance or upgrade required. So another plug there, shamelessly. Another question. When designing the beam and column, can you define and adjust unbraced length of the top and bottom flanges in Excel?
Yeah, so taking that for lateral torsional. Yeah, so at this stage, we can't define the details of the design, but we can definitely add that in. And just thinking about that, I think that's probably something that would be very popular amongst the users, and probably, yeah, I think that's an important one to have in there, because it plays a big part in our design. So yeah, we can look at adding that in, and it would be, it would then become something like, it would obviously have to be custom to each code. And once you pick your code, we can just have it pop up with a few more options of setting your lengths and whatnot. Or it could likely be better to have it in a table as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I think like you were saying earlier, it's always good to start with what we have now. It's something that, it's a brand new tool for us, so we're looking for as many ideas and as many as much feedback as we can. So making things more granular and expanding the complexity of it is our goal. So definitely thanks for that question. Any other questions last minute that come in? Well, like I said, we're happy to answer as many that come in here last second. Otherwise, this webinar is recorded, so just keep your eyes peeled. It'll be posted, I'm sure, on our LinkedIn and sent to you via email and a bunch of other mediums. So let's take one last look for any more questions. Doesn't look like anything else is coming through. So thanks everybody for joining one of the first SkyCiv webinars, especially on the Excel plugin here. We hope you found it as useful and as interesting as we do. So we look forward to seeing you guys on the platform soon. Make sure to check out skyciv.com/excel to sign up for that 14-day free trial. And again, make sure to reach out to us with any questions, comments, concerns, feedback. That'd be great.